I was about 11 years old when I found out that my beauty was completely tied to my size. Up to that point in my life, I had been violated multiple ways by multiple people, but I still thought that I was beautiful. I still believed I was a princess in that was waiting for her knight in shining armor. But when I was about 11, I was standing in my grandma's kitchen, where up until that point, it had been the safest place in my life. It was where we went when life was hard. She always took care of us. There was always a warm meal. There was always love, always stories about her childhood. She was always interested in what we had to say. But in that moment, standing there looking at my grandma and her kind of not objectifying me in a way to use me, but almost looking at me like I was her granddaughter. She was proud of me. She loved me. But she said, "Wow, you're pretty, but you'd sure be prettier if you took off a few pounds, if you weren't quite so chubby." And she poked my belly. And it was the first time in my life I realized that I was chubby, that I wasn't thin, and that my beauty was all dependent on my size. Now, none of that is actually true. But to an 11-year-old girl who's on the cusp of puberty, I'd already had so many things awaken in me because of the way I'd been violated as a little girl, that this new piece of information really rocked my world. And I wouldn't even understand how deeply it affected me until into my 30s, honestly. Because every time I passed a mirror, every time I looked at myself, it wasn't my face I was looking at. It wasn't my character I was looking at. It wasn't the quality of my relationships or what people said about me. It was what size I was. That was how I determined my beauty. All because of this, comment that my grandma made. And I know that she did not mean to like cast a life sentence over me or over my self-esteem. But that is exactly what happened that day. Whether or not she meant to, the enemy absolutely took that opportunity to wreak havoc on my self-esteem and how I viewed myself. When I was in my 20s, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and they put me on a drug that ravished my system. I lost so much weight. I got incredibly thin. I probably, from the moment I got diagnosed to when I finally got off the medicine, had probably lost 25 to 30 pounds. I was incredibly malnourished. I was incredibly unhealthy, but I couldn't see it at the time because I had been associating beauty with thinness. And for the first time in my life, I was thin. I was really, really thin. And I look back at pictures now and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awful. I absolutely should not have been this thin. And the doctor should have taken me off the medicine well before the embarrassing moment that made me force him to take me off the medicine. But that's for a different story. All that to say, in the midst of this moment in time where I was horrifically thin, I couldn't even buy myself clothes smaller than a size 4 because I couldn't see that I could ever be that thin. And in my mind, like a size 0 or a size 2, those people were really skinny. And as thin as I was, I couldn't see it. And I really feel sad for that woman. I really feel sad for the 28-year-old me that didn't know that my beauty had nothing to do with my size. It just didn't. As I've gotten older, I've met many people who are gorgeous on the outside, and they become the ugliest people I've ever met because of what's on the inside. And so I had to learn that my beauty had nothing to do with my size. In fact, it really didn't have anything to do with how I looked at all. It had to do with who I am on the inside. But, those weren't the images, those weren't the things I was being taught as a young woman. Thank God I didn't have social media at the time. My goodness, if I'd had social media, what would that have done to my self-esteem? I mean, all we had was magazines, Cosmo, Better Homes and Garden, People magazine. Those were the images that you would see, but I only saw them when I went to the doctor or the grocery store stand. I didn't see them every single day on my phone, in my face. So it was really a hard thing to learn. It was really something I had to overcome, that my beauty has nothing to do with being with my physical body. That true beauty has to do with who you are on the inside. And if who you are on the inside is generous and loving and kind and caring and thoughtful, it doesn't matter what you look on the inside. Because at the end of the day, who are we trying to be beautiful for? Are we trying to be beautiful for our husbands, ourselves? Because I was married. My husband thought I was beautiful. It was me that didn't think I was beautiful. I have great friends. They're not going to be standing around my grave when I die going, man, she'd have been so great if she was just 10 pounds lighter or a little bit prettier. No, they're going to be standing there going, she was there for me. She was thoughtful. She took care of me. That's what matters. And I find it really scary for young women today that they have to traverse this world with social media, that they have to figure out who they are, and the beauty standards are like the pendulum swings so far, right? Like you have some images of women who are like, screw the standards, just throw your hair up in a bun and walk around in your jammies and it doesn't matter, which I don't think that's a healthy mindset either. Or the people who can never be seen without their hair and makeup and clothes perfectly done. Either end of the spectrum isn't super healthy. We have to learn how to live in the middle. My friend Amy says healthy is always in the middle. And I think that's because you're closer to balance in the middle. If you're up and down and the target is at the end of a spectrum, it's changing all the time. But if you can go to the middle, to where the truth is, to where the deepness of your conviction resides, you'll have much more peace. And that's where I had to get. And I got there by thanking God for my body, which, if I'm honest, that wasn't an easy thing to do. Because I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder and because I felt like my body was rebelling against me, like against itself, it was hard for me to appreciate my body. But then I started realizing, you know what? I can still walk. I can still write. I can still hold my babies. Now I can hold my grandbabies. I can still exercise. And there are so many people who never even have that, who don't have that privilege. And it is a privilege because I have been sick where I couldn't walk. I have been sick where I couldn't pick up my nieces and nephews. And I'm not there anymore. And again, beauty cannot be about what my face looks like, what my body size is. That's so shallow. Beauty is about how you feel. And if we're honest, beauty, physical beauty that makes you feel something is really a lot closer to lust than it is to love. But beauty that makes you feel, the beauty that is from the inside, that makes you feel seen, that makes you feel known, that makes you feel validated, that makes you feel full, that's the kind of beautiful I want to be. I don't want to be the beautiful that just makes somebody lust after me. I want to be the kind of beautiful that makes somebody want to be better, that makes somebody want to give back. That's where true beauty is. As older women, we need to be careful that the words that we're using about other women's bodies, about our daughters' bodies, are uplifting. I don't want to say never talk about somebody's physical beauty, because you can't get around the fact that a woman's inner being wants to be desired. It's part of how God made us. But we can teach them how to value the internal beauty more than the external beauty. Because here's the thing, if you will value the internal beauty inside of you, you will automatically begin to start taking care of the outer parts of you. Because when I value who I am as a woman, it is a lot easier to respect my body when it's full. It is a lot easier to choose food that will nourish me, not just emotionally numb me. Because when I look inside and I go, oh, this is who she is, then I'm going to feed myself like the princess that God created me to be. I'm not going to put garbage in because garbage makes me feel bad. And I love myself too much to want to feel bad all the time. I remember my daughter telling me years ago that it was not what I ever said about her, or even what I said about other people, that made her have doubts about her physical body. It was what I had said about myself. And I have to be honest, that was not something I was thinking about. I was really intentional about teaching her that she was beautiful and that what other people thought about her did not matter. I was really, really intentional about that. But I was not as intentional about speaking kind about my own body. And what that did was internalize in her that those were things she needed to worry about herself. Because you see, more is caught than taught. So when we are mothering our daughters or our nieces or our granddaughters, let's be mindful that beauty has nothing to do with the size of your body, the size of your nose, the shape of your eyebrows. Again, I'm not saying we don't want to do things to make ourselves feel pretty. That's normal. The problem is when that becomes the state of our worth, when we don't think we can be pretty unless we fit a certain societal norm, we are missing out on joy and contentment that we were born to experience. That day in my grandma's kitchen was painful. That day sent me on a path of really almost rejecting my body in a lot of ways. Not almost, rejecting my body in a lot of ways. And I'm sad about that. And I'm sad because I know she didn't mean to do it. That's the thing. I know her heart wasn't to hurt me, but her words did. And so I want to encourage you, if you have found yourself on the receiving end of hurtful words, you can rebuke them, you can renounce them, you don't have to receive them, and you can forgive the person that said them to you. But if you have been on the giving end of hurtful words about somebody's body, you can ask for forgiveness. You can tell somebody you're sorry, you shouldn't have said that. Let's be women who help encourage our inner beauty, who help build each other up, who help build self-worth. Like I said, you don't have to wear makeup every day unless that's what you like to do. You don't have to be in your jammies every day unless that's what you like to do. Healthy is in the middle. Let's be women who lift each other up, who do not objectify our own bodies by mentally hating them and physically rejecting them. And let's love ourselves. Let's start by saying thank you for the body that I have. Thank you for all the ways that it has helped me serve my purpose on this planet. And let's build up other women. Let's not tear them down. I hope this helps. And if you have a story, you found out that something about you wasn't quite right, I'd love to hear it. See you next time.